we're live now.
Oh,
Brilliant.
welcome to the
I love
Flawedcast.
being live.
Yeah, nothing better.
Alive is the best.
And
thing
what a
to
time
be.
to be alive.
Being alive makes me
Oh,
happy.
right. That's the song.
Alive is the best thing to be. Being alive makes us happy. Pray, celebrate that, man. It's
I just realized that makes perfect sense for the Flawedcast. It's about being alive. That's the theme song.
yeah.
It's quick, it's to the point, and it's a celebration of exactly what this is. It's lucky my fingers are live here because I was shredding potatoes on a big grater and got a little bit of the top of it in there. And so,
Ouch,
you know, those things don't feel very good.
Wait,
Oh,
so are you
it's not
saying
like
that
that.
you got a little bit of the potato into your thumb?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of potato head, potato hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr.
Bob,
Potato
That's
Head.
hard to do
hands.
with
What
the
happened to
like
your?
this.
It had an unfortunate meeting with the wood stove at my cabin. Very brief
burn.
interaction.
I don't like burns.
Enough.
Yeah. Oh,
They go real fast.
brief interaction. Just saying it like that for some reason fucks with me a little
I
bit.
had like twisted to like hold because we were cooking. I twisted to like hold the little griddle, and then I had like my handle on the thing was opening it to eventually put some wood in, and like it was all discombobulated and
Yeah.
it didn't work out in my
Sounds
favor.
sexy.
Yeah.
That whole description is erotic.
Right.
There was I've been working on this perimeter deer fence, so instead of having each of the little
Deers?
orchard areas surrounded by their own little fencing like I've had, I put a bigger perimeter fence that like runs out kind of in the forest, so you don't see the presence of the fences all the time.
Okay.
But these deer are cunning as crap, man. Like if there's a
cunning.
semi-insecure point, they've found it and exploited it as an entry point in which to gain access to my like apple trees and peach trees and grapes. They decimated some of the grape plants by eating all the leaves. And so I'm like, oh, you wily bastards, you know, what do I got to do to keep you out of here? So I really reinforced it and like spent some time this last Sunday doing that, and then was like, oh, super satisfied, and was out Monday night or
That's
Monday morning, like late, like 1 a.m. I was taking a pee and I heard something out there. Turned on the light and there's a couple eyes looking at me that were on the lawn, and I'm like, well, now come on, like I've done all this work and here you are. And the deer like turns towards the fence area, decides can't make it in there, and comes back and then jumps like straight towards where my pumpkin patch area is, over that fence, like which is the same height as all the others, and doesn't quite make it.
Oh no!
So but he she strides in the fence, landed hooves on it, and broke a couple of links on the fence and bounded through the salmonberry bushes. Like when I look at the place that the deer leaped, it was like off of a little embankment into heavy brush over a 6-foot fence. Like they're just crazy. Like they're buck. And then I, of course, turn around and I look at the fence and I realized that I'd left one of the gates open. Like, okay, so perhaps my fence is solid. I just need to make sure I close it all the way.
Or you got some lock picking deer, dog.
Oh, yes.
Probably more likely, actually.
You got the locksmith.
That possibility has been introduced.
The locksmith breed.
It's pretty obvious.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Pretty obvious. Yeah.
So what's the deer version of a cat burglar?
That's a great question. Tell me you have a punchline.
Nope. A buck burglar? I don't know. Yeah, no, it's not a punchline. I was just like saying the thing out loud because I was afraid I was going to miss it.
A doe snatcher?
But oh man, that sounds gross.
Yeah. Well, what a time to be alive, you know? Nothing matters anymore anyway.
Doe snatcher.
We do like.
That's a great rap name. Hold on. How come nobody's done that before?
Snatcher?
Doe snatcher.
For some reason, I'm just imagining people who rob bread factories. Like just raw dough in the middle of the night.
I just have a problem, man.
Just stuffing it into trash bags.
No need to do it. I can make my own dough. But
Hey,
I have to take other people's dough. It's just
speaking of burglaries. We had local elections that were pretty cool around here the other day, so I was watching the local news.
Yeah.
And there was, and that's also a burglary, the recent city council vote. Anyway,
okay. I don't live in a big city anymore.
But there was a local news broadcast from Snohomish and Everett. Some dudes had ransacked a weed store, busted through with a sledgehammer in the middle of the night, and it looked like 8 guys in masks and everything, and a lot of them had like duffel bags, and they went in and were like, and the video surveillance is like, these dudes had a game plan, went straight for product, didn't bother with the money, just filled bags with products. And like this one dude is running in and he's got a laundry hamper lined with a garbage bag. And I was like, man, he showed up for the thing without any bags, so he improvised.
Or is he just keeping his bag open? It's easier.
Maybe it was a slick move. I was like,
that's actually the sign of a professional, I think.
Sure. I bet you he got a lot
of
stuff.
No, think about people having to keep the bag open as they stuff shit in there, wasting valuable time. I've been thinking about those little efficiencies. Not necessarily in burglary.
Like when you're robbing a weed store, you want to have a frame for the trash bag when you bring it in.
With things you do on the computer, you know what I mean? Using keyboard shortcuts and things like that. You know, just things that you could do faster, but sometimes, at least for me, I'll just be in the habit of doing it a different way and, you know, like have to kind of like talk to myself like, you know, this would just be a faster and better way to do it. And there's no reason whatsoever that you're not doing it other than some bizarre sentimentality associated with like your mouse pattern, like how you click, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying the burglar, he might be a guy like me waking up to these, you know, lost opportunities to speed things up. And he said, you know what, let's get the hamper, line it. It's going to be wide open. In fact, maybe he had 10 bags in there. Ties that one off, throws it to the homie, boom, does it again. You know what I mean? This guy's very dough snatcher, but with the doja snatcher.
What if
doja snatcher?
Yeah,
that's good.
What if it was like some kind of hot air balloon contraption that he was like, you know what I mean? Like it was like a reverse vape balloon type thing, and he was planning to escape in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's possible.
I mean, you know,
this apparently happened the night before. Everett or Snohomish County, which I passed through on my way to the cabin, had a new sheriff instated. And I've been seeing the signs for Adam Fortney
anytime there's a new sheriff in town.
Ty Trenery is such a great name, first of all. And apparently, real lovable guy who made it really difficult to prosecute.
Trenery?
Trenery, yeah.
Trenery.
He made it really hard for the county to prosecute a bunch of misdemeanors and was all about like rehab for drug offenders instead of jail time and all these other things. And the dude who beat him, unfortunately, ran on a platform of it's time to take the handcuffs off the police and put them back on the criminals. He said, I'm going to open the county jail for business.
That's catchy. That's a better slogan.
I'm opening the jail back up for business.
And like by business, I'm talking
man. Dude.
Two good slogans. You win, sir.
Prison industrial complex business. Let's do it. Let's start.
I was like, really? So just like that's the county just north of King County.
Just north.
And it's like you can get there in less than half an hour drive from Seattle. And man, it's like a different freaking world. King County voted against the 976, the car tab changeover. We have really high car tab fees.
Explain that. Yeah.
For infrastructure and transit projects around particularly the Tri-County region, which is King, Pierce, and Snohomish, but even broader into the state. And so there's been huge incremental levies of these tab taxes that have been voted and approved by the voters for many, many, many years. And we have this legend of poopy anti-tax conservatism in this state, a gentleman or person by the name of Tim Eyman. And he is, for the last 20-something years, been proposing different pieces of legislation.
He probably owns some land. He might be a gentleman. I mean, I would imagine he owns.
Does that make you a gentleman?
It's literally the definition of the word.
I think these days it's used in other ways too.
Well, they're used.
I know gentlemen that don't own land, and I'm looking at you.
I know. Right? Well, thanks, dog.
Speaking of, well, yeah. So this guy's a fucking clown, Tim Eyman, and continues to just propose things that are gonna fuck everything up, and he did that. And people, I realize, just look at it like, man, who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen next year in the government? If they're saying I can vote to pay less for anything whatsoever, I'm just gonna, like, there's people who just don't care. Like, it's just less money. It's like, it doesn't go beyond that. And I think that must have been what happened,
The argument being that Washington State has had a pretty successful economy for a while, and we have a pretty big rainy day slush fund that we maintain as kind of a kitty just in case.
We have a lot of rainy days, to be fair.
Which is really nice for a state in case of emergency or something like that, to have a big fund to be able to move around into the proper place. Mm-hmm. And his response is, instead of having everybody paying all these exorbitant car tab fees, let's just spend the money that we got.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And his line is a fraction of the money. And I was just thinking to myself, what a fraction also can include is 9/10 of something.
Right.
Like, that's a fraction of something. So,
yeah.
Sure. Anyways, so that was elected, or that was voted in largely around the state, except for a few of the metropolitan hubs, King County being one of them, voted very much against it. Right. We're willing to pay for all of those transit improvements, et cetera. And there was there another point I was trying to make about Tim Eyman?
Well, I'm not sure what it has to do with
the advisory votes, probably.
Or I think I was using it as a juxtaposition to the way the state works, and the way that certain counties have certain weight, like King County and Washington State, obviously.
It's the king of the counties.
But still, a statewide vote on certain issue points might step on King County's power and dominance. And this one certainly did. And it was billed in just the right way. It was confusing in a literature manner for the voter, I think. There was no talk of what this is going to cut funding out for in particular in the way that the ballot was developed. It was just would you rather pay $30 for tabs and have that be the law, or keep paying however much you were last year, like $170 or something?
That's 30. 30. I want to pay 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of money,
easiest vote I ever made.
Shit. There's a movement, and it's a bipartisan movement, and it's to eliminate the penny.
Love that movement.
I'm in. I'm so in.
And it's been estimated that it could save $85 million a year to not produce the penny, which actually costs more to make than it's worth.
Yep.
So I think that's interesting because it seems right for Andrew Yang, I would think. It just seems like something he would be
round up all them pennies.
Yeah, he'd have some common sense reason. They'd say,
and then round them up to dollars.
Now
we're talking. Now we're talking.
Down. So
is there, in all of the Bitcoin money stacks, are there original?
I'm glad
are there original coins called 1 and 2? Do those coins exist? Can you have and I'm wondering also.
You mean incrementally the first?
Yeah. Is there 001 or something like that? And I'm wondering if you could rebrand a whole new framework of all new Bitcoins as a new federal U.S. value. Like if it's USFD X Bitcoin number, does the USFD change it all? And can a government literally create a whole new venue of Bitcoin for itself to manage its own economy? In the way that, thinking about pennies, I'm thinking about further digitizing the way that the economy functions. I mean, that's how a lot of other advanced industrial, more civilized than the U.S. countries are working. You don't see cash as often in a lot of parts of Northwestern Europe, especially.
Right.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to answer the rest of your question because you asked a question that my brain kind of just obsessed over. I've never thought about the answer to that question until you just asked it. So
it's a grand curiosity for me.
Well, just the first one is where is the first Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Okay, so
in a museum somewhere, homie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's right next to the Fabergé.
It's it's the Wu-Tang album with Martin Shkreli.
Exactly. Yeah, nailed it. Right. So, let's see. I was trying to find this this summary block.
Okay, while you're doing that, ponder this: Melania Trump, Russian spy.
Just a few days into 2009, the first ever block of Bitcoins, known as the Genesis block, was mined.
Yes.
The Genesis block. What a great... Okay, by January 9th, the first iteration of Bitcoin software was released, and on January 12th, the first ever Bitcoin transaction occurred as Nakamoto sent 10 Bitcoins to noted computer programmer developer Hal Finney. So I would imagine that's where those first coins...
And those guys are just laughing. Right. Because 10 Bitcoins...
They're living on Bitcoin Island right now. And on Bitcoin Planet and Bitcoin, Galaxy.
Bitcoin ballers.
Yeah.
Right.
So Melania Trump, Russian spy.
That's very clear.
Obviously. Yeah, totally.
I haven't heard anyone say it, but I was thinking, that one's super obvious, right?
Where's she getting all them clothes?
And how do they blackmail him so easily? Who will poison him, straight up, all that shit?
Oh,
they have someone embedded right there.
Do we know much about her early life?
You know that he can't escape her. She's running the show. She's a cold one.
You might be right about that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
For sure,
that's
true.
A lot.
That's true.
Many people.
Damn, that sinks in deep. That's good.
Yeah, totally. It rings true. Think about this. Right after he gets into the office, she's like, "I'm not going to the White House. And I'm staying in New York."
Yeah, I'll call the shots from here. Thank you.
You know
very
why?
much.
You know why? Because old Vladimir needs a place to sleep when he's in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be it. But even if not, she's probably just or a fembot. Could be.
Could be very possible.
Totally.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things out there.
Could be both. Many
people are saying
the
man
controlled
Donald wears adult diapers.
That would not shock me.
A lot of sense.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
A lot of people saying that. Yeah, he wears adult diapers.
Well, it's easy to judge by the facial expressions that he makes.
Mm-hmm. When he lets
consistently looks like he's going to the bathroom.
Yeah, I know it feels really good for him sometimes.
The pursed lip.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, just getting it out.
Right.
He's fat bastard.
What happened to Jeffrey Epstein?
Oh, he gone.
He gone.
What do you mean? What happened?
Well, it's become more widely accepted that he was killed and not suicided.
Didn't somebody ask? Did Trevor Noah ask Clinton? I feel like Trevor Noah recently asked Clinton about how she did it or something like that, or how. I gotta look it up, but I just saw it as a clip. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
it is knowledge.
Okay, so
I don't know that.
I assume when it first happened, my thought process went like this: it was the Russians, it was, the Trump family, and then I started thinking, oh, there's a list of people, so that means then there's this other angle that could be played where whoever killed him could have just been set up to kill him to make it look like somebody else killed him. There's so many arrows pointing.
I know, man. It's very House of Cards out there.
Yeah, exactly. Even if someone turns out to be guilty, that person could have been set up by one of their enemies who also wanted him dead and just saw the opportunity.
That's why the Trump people, still exist, because they're always able to add a layer. You know what I mean? All they ever do is just be like, but there was a shady conspiracy guy trying to set me up to look like this, and it's not that, or it's just always a fucking somebody else's fault.
When you got a stable full of horses, there's always room for more shit.
What about a stable full of unicorns?
They're all still gonna shit.
Okay.
So Trevor Noah asked Hillary Clinton, said, "I have to ask you a question that has been plaguing me for a while. How did you kill Jeffrey Epstein?" The question elicited a laugh from the former Secretary of State, but the host continued, getting to a larger point that has haunted Clinton since she's been in the political life. Because you're not in power, but you have all the power, I really need to understand how you do what you do. because you seem to be behind everything nefarious, and yet you do not use it to become president. Honestly, what does it feel like being the boogeyman to the right?
Okay, so he tried to act like it wasn't a serious question, but he was feeling her out. He was like, hey, well, how'd you kill Jeffrey Epstein? Like, oh, okay. She didn't answer it by telling me how, so I'm going to pretend like it was a joke, so she doesn't kill me.
What's also like, I have to ask you this question because we're video recording your face, and I have to be able to go back later and analyze your facial expressions when you heard these words. So I'm just going to ask this question and see what happens. I
like that.
What about this? That rule.
I think reporters do that all the time, by the way. Like, I feel like that's a pretty common, like police officers and reporters, journalists kind of do that a lot. We're like, I'm just going to ask you the question while the camera's on you, because whatever reaction you give us is worthwhile. We can work with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about that rule that the psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, have where they can't diagnose somebody not in person? You know the one I'm talking about? They say, you can't say he's this or that.
Right. So, like, there were a bunch of psychologists or whatever that came out and said that, like, signed some letter. What psychologist, psychiatrist, I don't know.
I don't either.
If there was one or the other or both involved in this, but
I believe the distinction is psychologists are allowed to like counsel you and offer you mentoring in that sort of way. Psychiatrists are allowed to do that as well as prescribe drugs and medicine for particular disorders. So they deal more with like stated and clarified mental health disorders and treating them with medicine.
Well, whichever ones are allowed to write letters were involved in this letter.
Okay.
And just wrote a letter basically saying, we all think Trump is crazy.
Like, what kind of did they say? What kind of crazy? Okay.
But like, we've just seen enough that like this guy's a sociopath and he has these delusions of grandeur and blah blah blah. We've seen enough to believe that unless there's compelling evidence that that is an act, then this person is crazy.
Because so that's
to your
great.
Point, then that's where I heard what you're referring to, Rob, where some other doctors and journalists and whatever said, hey, you're not supposed to do that.
There's a whole rule, they say.
So system, you can't do that.
They got a name for it.
Right.
And the thing is, it's kind of like that. You're familiar with the OLC memo? It's the Office of Legal Counsel, and
right.
It says to the Justice Department that you can't indict a sitting president. So Office of Legal Counsel, which is a legal like defense type of HR cover your ass department within the FBI or the executive branch on some level, I'm not 100% clear, at some point just wrote a memo and said you can't do it. It's a memo. And so like the whole Mueller investigation couldn't do anything. And they're saying you can't even shoot him, do something if he shoots someone on Fifth Avenue because he would be the president and he can't be indicted. And it's a memo. It's like these psychiatrists and psychologists, there's just some agreement we made where you can't do this one thing that just would happen to help defeat the enemy. There's like, it's just, it's bad enough as it is, but it's just funny that there's all these people who supposedly, subscribe to like a code of honor or ethics, and they're like, it's like, I keep being reminded of Will Ferrell's character in Austin Powers when he's that dude with the fez.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he asks him something and it's like, damn it, if you ask me like 4 times or 3 times, I always have to answer. Even if I don't want to. And so it's like that same, like, you just like ask 4 times or do this thing in this exact way. And everybody just, sorry, I can't do anything about it. I just have to watch and let it all fall to shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm tired of things that are obviously invalid like that running the show. It's like the penny. Get it out of here. The electoral college.
What are we doing with this? Yeah. Go on.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
I'm with some fucking actual future progress shit.
Yeah.
That's difficult to persuade a lot of the country of, though.
I know. But they need to see. We need to create a model version of what it could be like, where the sidewalks are on upside down or whatever it is, just create that world where it actually is the future,
and
then
just
really laugh at everybody else. Go, come on.
Seattle and the Bay are the two best contenders for pulling that off.
What about King County?
I think you had me until the sidewalks are upside down, Doug. Because I ain't walking. I ain't walking under no sidewalks.
Negotiable. I'm just saying everything futurized, and then times 10.
Yeah,
that's all.
No, this is how they're upside down, Meshach. You just reach your hands up, and this thing comes down and embraces you like a little socket for your arms. It's got a little handle, and then you
Batman ride.
You zip around the streets, and you can turn it, and it's just maglev to the sidewalk.
You shouldn't have to click in, or do an uncomfortable position. I think you should be able to be very natural and still catch like
then it's a seat.
You ever played one of those racing video games? Remember F-Zero on Super Nintendo with the hovercrafts? Anyway, a lot of time racing games that have like little arrows or something where all of a sudden like it's like you just float across that part like Wayne in the scene when he met Tia Carrere in Wayne's World. But fast. What if that was it? They were just like arrows, and if you went over there, it was just
boosted you somehow. Zoom.
It just zoomed. Yeah. I dig that.
Click in with like your intention to know where you were gonna stop. So
okay, so are we going back to the roundabouts versus stop signs now? Because if those exist, we got to replace all those roundabouts and stop signs.
There's no such thing. There's no reason for any of that stuff.
But no, exactly. Like if you have that, there are no stoplights.
Everything talks to everything else.
They're just floating neon arrows.
Traffic does what traffic must do.
What if they're like? What if they're like gravitational catapults, right? So like you could like walk over toward them, and when you get closer and closer, the gravitational pull gets stronger and stronger until they just fucking shoot you forward into the next place.
Something just like that, only very soft and comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
So
and pleasant smelling.
That sounds really fun to me, though.
What about this? Like downtowns can be their own thing. But and incorporate some of this too. But in general, like larger neighborhoody, residential, semi-residential areas can be big arterials, maintain like a pathway one direction each for whoever weirdo wants to drive a little car, or the trucks that are coming and bringing commerce to the businesses that line those main arterials.
Why can't the business come in little cars?
When you move out, it certainly can. When you move out to in the neighborhoods, there's no more fucking streets.
Yeah,
there are gondolas up where all of the side arterials would go. And so you take a gondola, and you're at a block from your house. So you're there real quick. They can accommodate a bike. You put the bike on the gondola with you. There's a gondola going every 50 feet.
You know what?
So you gotta wait
what
for
about emergency evacuations?
Hold on. That's way advanced. We're not even there yet, because if you think about this, there shouldn't even be any of that. It should be that everybody has just like a tube directly from their house to a central point. And then from the central part is where all the transportation and other things happen. But there can be no traffic jam in your individual route to exactly one, designated spot. So
is
like
the tube
platform,
in the air, or is it underground?
It's like a pneumatic tube underground. It shoots you like from the basement to the metro station into your own designated waiting spot. And then you can get it. It's not a metro though. It's a super future chamber speeder. And somehow, we got to figure all that out. But from there you go and do stuff. So if there's an emergency, they just go reverse.
Yeah.
Of your
Flip
tube.
Everybody back to your house.
Just the person. Only the emergency crew, not everybody. Your house would get really full.
Oh yeah, no, but everybody to their own home.
Right,
it's a real emergency. Yeah, everybody goes home today. Rob had a break-in.
Everybody's home like that. You can be recalled to your own home without really a lot of talks.
Have no say. You just get sucked away from your workstation, whatever you do.
What would be great is there'd be no reason to apologize because you're in a meeting and then it's just like you're not there.
Everybody's gone.
And everybody knows, well, I guess that was we're gonna have to deal with that later.
How did we all adopt a system that that the whole thing happens underground? How it happens, who knows? But it happens. The whole thing, like we'll figure it out later. But like once you go underground, like that's where all the fucking magic happens.
First of all, you're probably moving really fast.
Yes, you are.
Going through
it's just like plumbing.
Little tunnel ways.
Yeah, it's like plumbing.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Except you're a human moving through.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
don't be claustrophobic in this.
Right.
This is the future.
At all.
Don't
look.
What happens when
you want to
your
ride your bike?
If it moves really fast,
you got to call for help.
Right. No, totally. Yep, that makes sense.
You can ride. Calling for help doesn't make sense. That's what we do now.
Yes.
What if all comms are down, bro?
Well, that's also a problem now, isn't it?
We have the ability to move in two directions.
It's
up here, but down there, there's just one direction.
You need direction.
No, it can go the other.
Right? Yeah, we're in reverse. You're right. You can
just get home. So you get home.
So I was heading home one day from work, and my tube got stopped because some other jackass randomly got shuffled into my tube, and he was coming back down after my wife shooed him away.
Right.
And he jammed me in my own tube.
Story they told you, man.
Yeah.
I think it's like that's just it doesn't make mistakes. That's how somebody
I think what we're
plays
missing
themselves.
here. I think what we're missing here is that we need to combine these two ideas, and we get the scene from Willy Wonka.
Well, maybe, but I want Bjorn to know this about the bikes. You can just ride them upstairs on the regular untouched terrain that's outside, because since underground is all this stuff, the entire above ground experience is nature and then buildings. You feel me? You don't need roads and stuff. Nature and buildings.
Love it. Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm.
You should have let me start.
Look, I was also kind of getting at that idea with the gondola thing. Getting people off the ground in all of their neighborhoods allows you to rip up all of the streets and use it to like grow food and have parks and play soccer and you know what I mean. Like all of a sudden, 24th Avenue just has a gondola going up and down it.
Yeah,
and
but I think the gondola should be underground.
Why?
And
gondolas.
I'm saying combine
because there's going to be so many. You're going to have
make the
gondola problems.
You don't like being outside?
Gondolaria. You're going to have you're going to have issues because the maintenance, the snow, the rain, the sleet, the sheer number of cars. It's going to look like an eyesore. You got this beautiful natural place, but then massive poles and wires everywhere, right? Just put them underground. That's all I'm saying. Make it down there and hyper fast.
I like it. I like it hyper fast, and I like it down there. I feel
there's a lot of space.
But I want still scenic gondolas. What about that? Like,
make the tubes bigger. I mean, just make the tubes bigger, guys. Make giant tubes big enough for gondolas.
Yeah. Wait.
Right? So now we're not talking claustrophobic. Yeah. We're talking like giant caves.
You just build it
like they haven't thought about that already?
Right? That's what I'm saying.
About
like
the
giant
gondolas?
caves.
Yeah.
That just go like all over the place.
So you get this like hyperloop thing.
Right.
And then you get a bull wheel and a cable system on it that spins at fucking 300 miles an hour. And you're busting fucking cables down to San Francisco. Lickety goddamn split.
Elon Musk tried to do it.
Now we're talking.
Not with cables and shit.
No,
he was doing maglev.
Yeah, maglev. Very, very sci-fi. He should use an invisible cable.
Just
I think what we're talking about is a subway system.
Made from goats, though.
Nobody thought of that. No, but okay. Take it to this level. Can we build on the concept of like, if I'm not mistaken, blood flows through veins that are of different sizes, and there's like arteries,
Mine are one size. I don't know, like that's so weird.
I'm saying there's a hierarchy of sizes of tubes.
Have standard size.
So any place that's big and requires a lot of people has a mass capacity to receive little units, and smaller places are lesser. So, but it's because it's all based on science and logic, and so there's never any problem with it.
Train system. I think what we're describing right now is a train system.
Better.
So
but underground, so a subway system.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I think we invented the subway.
We
discovered the subway.
We
just discovered subways like Christopher Columbus.
The one thing about gondolas that I do love, sorry, I'm stuck on gondolas, is it's La Paz, Bolivia. It's a super hilly city, and people live up on the hills, and it was like a 2-hour, 3-hour walk to get to like the center of town where they were working and shit like that, and back uphill is 4 hours getting home. And so they installed this system of crazy cool gondolas that connect all the disparate parts of the hillsides down to city center locations, and you can get off in all sorts of other spots. And it's like there's some tens of thousands of, I think it was like 50,000-60,000 riders a day or something like that, or more. It was a high amount of people are using it and getting around. And,
how many accidents do they have? How many times do just people fall out of the sky?
I think it's pretty rare. I mean, you have a little thing to clasp in on, and gondolas you can have ones that have closing doors.
Sure.
You can have other ones that are more like chairlifts where you chill, and then you can have ones that are chairlifts that have like a bubble over them. Like, there's a lot of different ways to orient that. I think they have quite a few chairlifts, honestly, that are just straight up for ski shit, you know?
Yeah.
But
I just am not feeling the futurism of that. I gotta be honest with you. It just doesn't feel like the future.
I'm really digging those like floating neon arrows that hyperloop you into stuff and make you feel good. That feels like the right approach.
There we go. I'm liking that. We don't have a way it works yet.
No pennies.
No pennies. Yeah.
But at no point in that experience am I ever stuck in a tube underground.
What about this? The lower there's a huge basement of society. That's where everything goes on. Storefronts, all that different stuff. Then anybody who has a residential thing, it's above ground and it has perfect, beautiful views. But you're totally free to walk around and transport. There's different types of futuristic systems down there. But all the business, the garbage, the sewage, all that is just underground. All the things that aren't necessarily pleasant. And then everything, whenever you want, you just walk up and kick it.
If you're rich.
No, if you're anything. Why do you have to be rich? We just made a future.
I feel like this is
society.
a really big division between subterranean and terranean folk.
No. Everybody's both. That's
okay, but wait, hang on. Why does all the dirty shit happen near the commerce? What if I just like hanging out at the mall? It just smells like shit at the mall.
No, it doesn't. I'm saying just it's unsightly. All that stuff. It doesn't need to be interrupting nature. You know what I mean?
You're saying it's all just parks and houses.
But the mall can't have like
above ground.
Everything else is underground.
Yeah, all the streets that you'd normally have, but there's not cars and stuff because it's the future and stuff. But
so you mean like totally separating like
basically, just imagine it like this. Take the whole skyline of San Francisco, for instance.
Yeah.
Pick it up in the air, rotate it, and just shovel it all back in. All of the homes, all of the everything, all of the big skyscrapers.
Why not? Yeah.
All transportation systems, everything.
Heating is cheaper down there, I think.
A few scattered homes, some campfires, and motherfucking trees. And pathways and mountain bikers and
I think
windsurfers.
I'm with you. The only thing I would like, because what we're going to do is start from scratch in this new place.
Well, we got a great
is that every residential unit is above ground. Right? There's nobody that lives below ground. So, like, the zoning works in that way, where the only type of zone that can be above ground is residential, but everybody in above ground has access to below ground, right? It's essentially your front door goes into the below ground, and your back door goes into the above ground. You feel me?
I feel you. Yeah.
So I think this might be a very pleasant way to live, because we're starting from scratch. We're going to just take a Montana or something, or a Dakota.
So like you would like live above ground, but you would work underground.
Probably. I mean, yeah, unless you
so like if you worked in like construction.
Most construction would be below ground. Yeah, some of it would be above.
So like
for the homes.
Yeah. And if you were like worked in construction underground, basically you would just work with rock. We just invented Fraggle
Rock. Fraggle Rock. Yeah, it'd be a lot like that. But we'd have natural light coming down there by way of super smart mirrors and
you'd
other
have great
things.
Songs that you'd be able to sing.
Well, yeah, same as now, only better in terms of songs. Yeah. They'd all be about 5% better.
Yeah. Cast your cares away, worries for another day down in Fraggle Rock.
It's very inspired. I mean, the dozers on Fraggle Rock were really probably the constructor, the proto construction workers of this.
Yeah.
So, Bjorn, you're there.
I'm seeing one way to like make it happen right off the top.
Let's just
to give the example, for instance, of like 24th Avenue again in Ballard here in Seattle. It's a gentle slope, semi-arterial, goes down, serves a larger arterial on a more commercial hub. If that now is an underground road, and I don't care what your mode of transportation is, you can have a private car.
Horse?
Right? Yeah, sure.
Maybe.
If there's a horse lane, there's a horse lane. Of course, lanes. I think horses can live up top. But cars, basically, move as much of transportation to subterranean facilities as you possibly can. And then you get into the neighborhood where your home is, and you maybe have an alley underground to get there, or you have just like a parking spot that's off the main bit that's for your unit, and then a little walkway up, and you zip on over to home.
Right.
Makes it a little less convenient with groceries, but you have a little cart, you know what I mean?
It would be all downstairs.
Yeah.
Everything.
You leave your car down there.
States?
Underground.
Well, this is its own state.
Like
its
long
own
distance. But like,
eventually,
how do you get like a couple 100 miles away?
Well, you got to go above ground after you get outside the limits of this project. Because this is going to be just...
I'm imagining the fastest way to go anywhere is going to be really cool, too. You drill down.
Right.
And then
shortest distance between 2 points.
And then you have diversions that work around the core to where the heat's not usable enough or is too much to handle to sustain a tunnel. Dip around that using the gravity and fall over to that side of the earth as much as you can, and then have some sort of either mag levitation or air thrusting something geothermally.
Exactly. I'm right here with you, man. This is exactly
So you're trying to dip out to Calcutta, you just walk down to SeaTac, get in a tunnel diving vehicle, and 2 hours later you're popping up, man.
I think it should be faster than that.
It might be faster.
mean, yeah.
We'll
how
see.
fast?
Safely. We got to move safely, Rob. Think about.
I know, but we're gonna just piggyback on natural phenomenon and shit. So we'll just be like sun speed of light, kind of sun particle, light particle.
Think 10 meters per second. Really important, squared, right? That's the gravity, rate of gravity.
Oh, I like the speed of light.
Me too. I'm a big fan.
Light can do it. We should be able to do it.
I have faith in light for sure.
Well, what if you just hitched a ride on light?
I just think I just want to acknowledge that I'm glad we finally are punching the opponent right in the mouth when we finally we nailed it, hit the nail on the head with this, that we're getting rid of this ridiculous idea that we should be traveling through air.
It's dumb.
Oh yeah.
Everything we're doing is just the hard way.
Guys,
the hard way.
We have all of this rock we could be traveling through.
Absolutely.
I know.
I love your point there.
No, well, that's because we've done all this work above ground. We wasted so much time. We should have been below the whole time.
Yeah. You know what I think? I don't disagree in some regards. I'd love to move a lot of our vital infrastructure, the gross bits, transportation, etc., downstairs.
Yeah. Right.
And reclaim a lot the
downstairs
landscape.
Movement. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful idea for a future planning. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of getting to other
Gondolas?
forms of just getting around. No, you thought I was going to get back to that. I'm going to take it somewhere even.
Guys, what about gondolas?
A little
Hold on. Gondolas?
I read this great book a year or so
Ralph
ago.
Nader of gondolas.
Nobody's ever been hurt riding a gondola. Gondolas are just about happiness. Jesus, sorry. You distracted me. That was such a great title. No, so I read this great book a couple years ago. Sci-fi, one of my favorite genres. And in it, the besides just regular history, the main means of getting around is basically by kind of mechanical slingshot. You have these bits of chain, basically, they're their own AI operated robotic piece of metal that can attach to the next link, if you will. And you can send via digital, instruction, 50 links assemble here. They go to a certain location where there's a main hub to clamp onto, 50 links attach. Then they grab a vehicle with the farthest link and move in a whip-like fashion where the front part goes out first and flings with basically like if you whip a chain or whip a whip, it creates a really massive amount of speed and force. And it's all about when it's released, what the trajectory of that final piece will be. And that's the vehicle that you're traveling in. So you're just using electric and mechanical force to basically throw things with really perfect targeting to another location that has a thing that can grab it,
right,
and bring that back.
They're playing catch. They're playing catch, like a ball and a mitt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting and fun idea as far as like mechanics. Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it?
It sounds like a lovely day.
I think in
space,
a
lovely afternoon way to travel.
In space, it has a lot more merit. If we think about moving things around the solar system, if you can fling something off the moon.
Have you guys ever ridden on one of those rides that slingshots you?
I think so. Is it where they lift you up and then drop it?
Done that.
No, so I've done like a bunch of the thrill rides, right? Like the bungee jump, whatever, the swing.
Real bungee jump?
Yes, but the craziest feeling I've ever had. I mean, the bungee jump is scary because you're jumping off of something. It's crazy. But like,
I can't.
Craziest feeling just physically is you sit locked in this cage, sitting down, two people.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a roll cage around you, but it's not much, right? And you're kind of locked onto the platform, and these poles are connected next to you, and they have bungee cords. And these poles, when they're ready, elevate up into the air slowly. They just extend, stretching this bungee, right?
Oh, see, this one I did do.
Higher and higher and higher until they eventually lock, and then they just release your chair.
Yeah, my sister and I did that. Vegas.
That sucks, dude. Like, just physically, like, compared to anything else I've ever done, physically, that is a brutal experience because you just get shot and then you're spun in so many different ways and then pulled and shot again, and like it's so disorienting.
Ours wasn't different like that. Never mind.
It's very disorienting in a very different way.
It sounds like a good way to train astronauts, though.
It does, yeah. I'm sure
it does,
because that's what space is probably like.
But I just imagine that as being like the feeling of getting in a catapult.
Right.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, some serious cheese going on.
Exactly.
Mishak, you watched El Camino, the new Breaking Bad movie?
Did you guys see it?
I don't think Bjorn follows that stuff. I thought it was pretty good, but I bring it up because there's a scene in there. It's just so good where Todd is driving and he's got a body in the trunk and he's singing along to the song "Sharing the Night Together" by Dr. Hook. I'd never heard the song until that scene, but it's just so fucking good, so I had to dig that one up.
Nice. I'll tell you, I think the only thing that I think the thing that threw me off about El Camino,
spoiler alert,
but the first, like the fact that in the first scene, is it Todd, the blonde-haired dude who looks like Travis Tritt or whatever?
Yeah.
Randy Travis is what he looks like. Yeah, he had put on 40 pounds, 50 pounds between the amount of time that Breaking Bad, the show, ended and this movie was made. And that was jarring because I went back and watched season 5 right before on Netflix. And I just watched season 5 to get caught up, right, for a few days. And then I watched the movie. And the movie is supposed to take place the same day. It's supposed to start the same
that
day,
is
theoretically. And it just cuts to this dude who's like 50 pounds heavier. And I'm just like, and it's like a jarring difference. Like, this is a young, kind of svelte dude, in the previous episode. And now this guy has clearly aged several years. And it's supposed to be the same day. So it just threw me off so much in the first scene that I was just like, oh man, why would they do that? Like, why would they have that connection? Yeah. And then you just open with this scene and he's supposed
maybe he tried super hard to lose the weight and they just
I'm sure they must have. Yeah. Like, well, you know what it was? It was a flashback too at one point, and they had to put this guy back into the scene of something that happened in and I was like, oh, that didn't work. Like,
wow.
So it was a couple of those things that just threw me out.
Can't get it past you, yeah.
Yeah, it just threw me out. The story was great. There were a couple like
that song was real good.
That scene was so dope. That scene was so cool. I won't give away too much about the story, but there were parts of it that were really great, and there were parts that were really.
You can give it away actually because we're on the internet, and people could get mad at us for spoiling, and we could say Rob said spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We did say spoiler.
Rob did say spoiler.
But I don't know if there's more to say about it other than that. I thought it was worth checking out.
I thought Jesse Pinkman turning out to be Walter White the whole time was a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
Yeah,
that's over my head. I gotta go back and watch it again. What?
Yeah, it was too much.
Okay. Well, there you go. You've even confused me as to whether you're just throwing a red herring out or if that's real shit. I don't even know. Because sometimes these artists, the way they do stuff.
You go onto the Flawedcast Reddit board. They'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. Those guys are fucking crazy, man.
They'll explain the whole thing that I just.
So any updated bets on the future of the presidency?
Oh,
you guys got thoughts about it?
My phone.
No, not like.
I think
predicted one thing, but
next Wednesday is going to be hot fire.
What is that? Bill Taylor.
Bill Taylor coming live and direct to the American people.
The APs.
And they say he's finna say some shit.
Wait, so who's he talking to?
Rather incriminating.
It goes public next week. The impeachment.
Is it the Judiciary Committee right now, or is it the which committee is it?
I think it's the Select Committee on Intelligence.
Is that the one? Okay.
Yeah, they call it HPSCI.
Okay.
HPSCI or something like that.
And then Judiciary Committee is going to do their shit afterwards?
I think that, I don't know. Because they got Adam Schiff in that one, and they like him. They're like, this guy. Yeah. He always looks the same.
Are there any new details that we've heard? I know that there's been some explosive confirmation kind of testimonies, but are there new details that have come out?
Yeah. So number one, Gordon Sondland, who was the ambassador to the EU, and he had testified early on that X, Y, and Z, but he basically said he didn't remember X and he didn't remember Y and he didn't remember Z. And then after they publicized some of the other testimony, his lawyer submitted a thing yesterday saying, oh, hold up, he remembers a bunch of shit that everybody else said happened, including that, there was definitely an understanding that there wouldn't be aid delivered to Ukraine if they didn't specifically name the Burisma, the company Joe Biden's son was working for, and something about the 2016 election. So he, basically just kind of did a 180 or whatever. And then today they said it somehow is, this was in the Washington Post, I guess, that the president had asked Bill Barr to do another one of his publicity things. Remember when the Mueller report came out? Bill Barr came out first and he was like, so he goes nothing to see. There's no can of beer. So it doesn't have beer in it because it's not a can of beer. This is it. So there's going to be no need for you to check it out when I let you see it in a few weeks. And apparently Trump asked him to do that again for this, and he got shut down or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was another little development.
Billy Barr said no.
Yeah. I think, are they going to jettison DT?
I mean, we've been asking that since the get. We thought that before he was elected president. When are they going to fully give up on him?
Right.
No, they clearly don't have any moral compasses. So the fact it's really that, and I think that's going to plague them in the future, is that transparency that the whole party is now going to be under, because they all clearly threw their morals out the window just to ride on power's coattails.
Right.
I hope that distinction of who they really are versus who they say they are, the family values, grand old party, people of Christian values, etc. No, not in the least. Like in the last episode when we were talking about the, white nationalist terrorists and how a lot of them probably attended evangelical churches, and they're out here shouting anti-Jewish slogans, but then evangelical view wants to build the final temple and celebrates the Jews' particular place in history. It's like what's I don't know. People just.
This is why I think we should just move it all underground.
Gondolas and tubes, man.
Yeah.
I just fear another distinction of new ways to cause division in societies, like the uppers and the lowers. Who lives above ground, who doesn't. Who can afford a place? Like,
no, man. The whole thing was you can't get a place down there. It's zoned, so you can't.
If a dark horse candidate,
people are going to live there. They are going to live there. People live everywhere.
Absolutely.
Well, if they live there,
poor people want to live next to it.
It's going to be illegal, in the sense of,
right. That's how
anybody trying to sell housing to some poor soul,
People don't need housing to live places. They need a damn sleeping bag, if that, sometimes.
Well, we'll create a good thing for all of those folk. Everybody will be covered. We'll cover.
That's what I hope.
Sleeping bags.
And
obviously.
Yeah, we won't need sleeping bags. That's the whole thing. Everybody's going to always be at a pleasant temperature.
Did you guys see that project where it was a Kickstarter project where they had a convertible jacket that they wanted to give to the homeless, and the jacket turned into a sleeping bag or a tent?
It sounds semi-familiar.
It was like a raincoat that you could wear, and it it was a big raincoat kind of style, but then you just convert it. It's got poles and everything in it, and you can convert it to a tent, or you could convert it to a bag that you can lay down in.
Yeah, I mean that might work. I say just create a world from scratch where everything's just great.
Yeah, I'm with that too.
Start over.
I think that'll be the better way. Just propose something.
Can I? I don't want to get into the predicted app specifically, but I just looked up a couple of just basic.
All right. Let's do some crystal ball stuff.
Well, so the predicted trend is still that Trump wins, right, in 2020. Overarching. Just look through the numbers. Who wins from a party standpoint? Who has who wins on the Democratic side? How much support does he have? And predicted is just people buying into that stock. But if you read those numbers at large, my take is that the at large feeling is that Trump still wins at this point in 2020.
Yeah.
Which is dumbfounding, obviously. But somehow not surprising, so unless there's some kind of dark horse candidate and some just massive event, unless this impeachment thing turns into a story that the entire country is appalled by somehow, some detail comes out that oh wait, we have a video of him eating a child. Check this out.
And even then, they'd be like, well,
Holy
the kid
shit.
was probably nutritious.
Right,
and
Right.
I'm sure it
but
didn't.
Like, there's got, I don't know what that is at this point.
I don't think there's
and I
such a
can't
thing.
really imagine it. But like, unless this trial is somehow going to find that thing, like it just is trending.
Well,
toward
it's the end of America. It's done. This is it. This is make or break.
We were that hyperbolic 2.5 years ago.
Well, here's what you got to remember. A couple of years ago, we were having a conversation back when we used to podcast on carrier pigeons, and we had talked about, I don't know who it was. I think Meshach. Yeah, God, we've been doing this for a minute. But Meshach, I think you were the one who had read an article where there was somebody who worked within the Russian intelligence or technology sphere, and this is like before any of us, and I think the public in general, knew about like Russian disinformation operations, like on the level that they're talking about now. But this person had said that they developed what they considered equivalent to a nuclear weapon, but it was some sort of like internet hacking type of weapon, and that they were going to unveil it in the near future. And I think if that were true, and I don't know how these things work, but it does seem now that there's literally like 1984 levels of just nonsense is considered equally valid.
Oh yeah.
Like and it's like, I don't know how it happened, but it doesn't seem to me that there's like a way out of it. You know what I mean? Like, if the people now believe this kind of ridiculous, stupid shit, they will tomorrow all the more. Like, you can't reverse it, I guess, is what I'm kind of wondering or thinking.
You might be right, and I think that the way that people even have political discourse in this country now is like meme based and like, or just like goes to the most basic principles of like calling the other person stupid. Oh, that's a stupid idea. Oh, da-da-da. And it's like, we've been moving that way, I feel like, maybe through my life, to a more base way of even having like deep discourse. But like the under the Trumpian mode of the way that we talk about things, like the most obvious and silliest ways to like refute somebody by just saying, oh, that's not true, you don't know what you're talking about, rather than even like offering like, responses and things like that. Being intelligent about the way you reflect on something and speak about it is lost. And it is a trend towards idiocracy. I don't think when that film came out, if you haven't seen Idiocracy, folks, you need to go see it. It's a brilliant film, and we are fast approaching it, and we're 500 years too damn early. Like, even in that film, the like full de-evolution, degradation of humankind, like takes 500 years. But man, we're like right around the corner. Like, that's like 2062 is gonna be just like Idiocracy. Like literally like a porn star wrestler for the president, and like death matches. And, Starbucks with hand jobs.
We're not far from any of that.
No, that's 40 years out at work.
Dude, we're there today. We got a fucking reality show porn payoffing guy who
you're right.
Talked about how they killed this terrorist like in such little kid G.I. Joe game way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Wait, time out. Do you guys know about the fake picture of the dog getting a medal?
Fake? No, I don't.
No, I missed that one.
Trump literally either tweeted or retweeted a picture of him putting a medal of freedom around the dog, and they were like, but the dog, something like, people knew it wasn't, they could tell it was Photoshop, but also like it just wasn't real. But he just put it out there as if like he had put this medal on the dog. Like, you can find that. It's verified. That's a thing. He did that.
We have reached that stage of 1984 where there's a scene in 1984 where Winston Smith works at the Ministry of Information, and he puts out a piece of information one day that says chocolate rations have been reduced from 1.5 bars a day to 1.25 bar a day. And then the next day, he's given another piece of information to announce Ladies and gentlemen, this is very exciting news. Our chocolate rations have been plentiful, and they have been increased from a half a bar to 3/4 of a bar.
Yeah.
We have reached that point.
Yeah,
He's just selling us whatever, just pure fiction to see.
Yeah, just not even remotely.
Just
I know, it's very
fabricated, provable nonsense that you literally said yesterday.
This is that moment. What do you do about it?
Yeah.
I guess
God,
Joe Biden, what he does about it is call Elizabeth Warren an elitist.
What the fuck?
Joe Biden, this was ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe this shit. The guy came out, he said...
He's lost his goddamn...
Check out what he said, too. It was the most, like, political, like, backspin, like, breakdance. I don't even know what to... Like, he said... She's an elitist because she puts out these policies that wouldn't really work. But then when you challenge her on it, she acts like you're not smart enough to know why it would work. That's not who we are. That's like the other side. We don't do that kind of stuff. She's an elitist. She's using GOP talking points. He somehow accuses her of being an elitist, and that she's like a GOP person and uses GOP talking points or something, and then literally uses a GOP talking point by calling her elitist. That's like their whole thing. It's the fucking slipperiest, slimiest, cheapest bullshit I've ever heard. I couldn't even believe. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
He's fucking geriatric Joe needs to fucking get it,
dude.
Step off, bro.
Yeah.
The problem is that like Bernie was the valid candidate in 2016.
No question.
And unfortunately, because there was a lot of emotion in the convention and how that all panned out, his name was dragged through the mud by a lot of Hillary Clinton supporters.
Yeah,
both
I know.
Prior and
even
and,
though
and
he advocated for her after
exactly,
that shit.
but everybody was still attacking Bernie boys. And, they just don't want to support Hillary, and that was all this big discussion, and it polarized Bernie to where he really lost access to gaining the more moderate Democrats. He still is the best choice, in my opinion, of all of the Democratic candidates. He's
I would agree.
Most well-spoken, has the simplest solutions.
Yeah, he's
plans.
honed that shit too.
He is about the game, and he knows it intimately now, and he deserves it. But because he was polarized by the way the 2016 convention worked out, he's lost that access to the moderates, and it's hard to see him being the candidate of choice. But there is nobody coming out of left field. Who's coming out of left field? Like, what, is Bill Gates gonna run?
Wait, you mean just...
Well, I mean,
you don't mean left
get
wing field, just...
Well, I hope they're fucking certainly left.
President because they deserved it. Al Gore would be president.
Well, I don't even care who deserves it, but I hear what you mean. But I at the end of the day, I think Bernie, for a lot of reasons, like you're saying, is the best presidential candidate. I like Elizabeth Warren a lot, but I think Bernie's just...
Yeah, but why are they killing each other in public? It's just so dumb.
Are those two killing each other? I hadn't heard a lot of that between those two. But,
not Bernie, yeah.
And Warren, but no, I'm saying Bernie and Warren are to me good, but Bernie's better,
Sure.
Because he's just more in his zone. You bring the shit to him, and he's ready to just go at it. He doesn't care.
But
he's had these arguments before.
We're not picking one of them. We're picking two of them. That's what's so frustrating about this process.
Right.
Is that we're picking two of these people. And if they're going to just keep stabbing each other in public before we do it, then we're going to pick two wounded people now, publicly.
Some say battle
we're going to let... I mean, maybe, but what are we doing? Why is it necessary for Kamala Harris to call Joe Biden, of all people, a racist, and why would Joe Biden call Elizabeth Warren, of all people, elitist? They're creating talking points that just serve them temporarily and just give them a little bit of an edge temporarily. Yeah. Long term, they are killing each other in the long-term picture. They're going to have to work together to win, two of them somehow are going to have to work together to win. And the best chance any of them have right now is working with Elizabeth Warren in some way.
Well, the VP could be
non-contender. Remember how they had Tim Kaine in 2016?
Yeah, but exactly.
That guy.
Wouldn't we want Buttigieg or Warren or somebody? Like, wouldn't we, if we're not going to have them as president, wouldn't we want one of these people to be VP?
Yeah, but it's the same game they always play. I mean, this is how it always goes, and then they all of a sudden say, "Oh yeah, well I said that," but. Right, it was a heated. It was a very competitive primary, but at the end of the day, we're much more alike than we are different. And here's why we're similar. Yeah. They got their own little tropes that they'll go through to do it. But where did Tim Kaine come from? Like
you're right
this
about
guy.
That was, yeah.
He wasn't one of the guys. He wasn't like the competitive primary challenger. He was just some rando who looked like a fucking clown in a bow tie. You know what I mean? Like.
Process
it didn't
of
make
elimination.
Any sense.
The Clinton family had been in Washington for too long. They're connected to everybody. There's so much dirt on Hillary, so much dirt on Bill.
Else.
They have to find somebody
they
who isn't connected
Melania.
in any way to anything.
What if they pick Melania as their running mate? Russian spy.
Donald Melania.
No.
It might be tricky.
No.
That might not work now that I'm thinking
Bernie about it. And Melania.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sanders Trump
20
versus
you want to go
Pence.
sideways Trump? Let's go.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And then he'd have to drop out because she'd be like,
right.
Get the fuck out the race.
Those debates would be super entertaining.
She'd eat him alive.
No, right? it would be Melania versus Mike Pence and Bernie versus Trump. That would be the debates going on.
Okay, then predict, Bjorn, who do you think is going to be the running mate and runner for when it's all said and done? Including any possibility. So you might say Michelle Obama and Owen Wilson.
I think I was just about to say.
I was gonna go.
I think it's gonna go Bloomberg and Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh God, that's
we're going
The Rock is VP.
We're going full idiocracy. Yes, The Rock is VP. Bloomberg is the yep.
That's 2020.
Yep, I think.
And they're going to be the Republicans.
They're going independent. Both of them, just like.
What about Democrat?
Like they're just going to fuck up the numbers.
What about
they're going to win? You think they're going to win?
Exactly. And they're going to just like boom, Bloomberg.
Paris Hilton.
Bloomberg Johnson. I love that. That's great.
What if Kanye and
That's
Kim
the dark horse I would vote for.
Run independent.
Oh,
Kanye Kim. Oh.
Yep, and they scoop up all the evangelicals, all the glam.
I'm gonna scoop up all the evangelicals.
Are
you kidding me? They might be talking that Sunday talk.
Wait, you're laughing, Bjorn. You're laughing, but let me just call out one thing that blows my mind. I forgot to tell you guys about it. I was in Louisiana last week, okay? And I went by the church.
They were knocking Jesus is King.
Right? The church that I used to go to when I was in high school. I graduated from Bethany Christian School, which is a tiny Christian school that was owned and operated on the campus of this giant megachurch, Bethany World Prayer Center. At the time, Bethany World Prayer Center, in the late 90s, had 5,000 people or so in the congregation. Today, they have in the neighborhood of 20,000. There are multiple campuses. The campus that I used to go to, and now another one on the other side of Baton Rouge. I stayed with my sister. We were talking about the church and the fact that I wanted to drive through and see the old playgrounds and, whatever. And she pulls up something on her phone and shows it to me and says, look, there's something going on Sunday you might want to take a look at. Kanye West is playing at Bethany on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do you mean? Like they're playing his music? That's crazy.
He's hosting a Sunday service, huh?
He's on a Sunday service tour
of
churches right now.
This is what I'm telling you. Wow. Okay, I've been talking shit about Kanye.
But yours was like one of his first stops.
Boom!
What if this is all about him taking back control? He's like befriending Trump so that the evangelicals will be cool with him when he comes in with Jesus. And then in like a year or two, he'll say, Trump is the Antichrist, and I am Kanye West, the new Jesus. The pro-Christ. Wait, what's the opposite
I was
answer?
trying to play him the whole time.
It's always been a game.
That's
He's
how
been
Jesus
bad.
walks.
And yes, and the people they've been listening to his music. Trump doesn't have talent like that. You know what I mean? So Kanye will feel like a warm light of a refuge of sorts because he can make music.
Thousands flocked to Bethany Church to hear Kanye West chronicle journey with religion at Sunday service on October 30th, 2019.
That's what I'm saying, man. This is part of the way it goes.
Walks tour.
All right, man. I'm going to wait to judge Kanye for just like a couple of years, and then I'm going to talk shit again.
I'm going to keep talking shit straight for the next couple of years.
I'm sticking with what I know here.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, all I'm going to say
You're not giving him the, like, bewildering benefit of the doubt? Like,
no. Hell no.
Alex Jones level.
What do you think good he's aiming at with this?
To make those people realize these fucking jerks aren't your people. Locking kids in cages isn't cool. You know, all this different stuff. And so he's befriending them.
You think that's his deeper purpose?
Maybe.
When has he ever stated that he had a political mind that was like that?
What?
Liberal. Okay. In any way.
Have you guys seen the interview with David Letterman?
No.
With Kanye? No.
Mm-hmm. David Letterman had Kanye on his new show, My Next Gets Needs Production.
Yeah.
Kanye, man, you should watch it, and man, is it hard to watch.
Okay.
It's really hard to watch.
Because he's not the Antichrist? Wait. Because I'm wrong?
It's really... Well, first of all, Dave just is bending over backwards to make him feel okay and comfortable and, like, not judged and just say what you want to say and, like, let's talk and I'm going to ask questions or whatever. And Dave very clearly has a fatherly kind of approach with him. And Kanye is just so undeniably, and he admits it very clearly and publicly about bipolar disorder and about his, medications and like what's going on. He talks about it very clearly about having these intense panic attacks and intense anxieties and paranoias that come out of nowhere, and he can hear the voices and like all this stuff, right? It's hard to watch, but he's really open about several things like that. And he talks about how the medication feels and how whatever. But it was also like hard to watch because you're watching that going, this is obviously what's happening with this guy. That's obvious to anybody paying attention from the outside. But it's also obvious that people are taking advantage of that fact and the fact that the public wants to see that meltdown of Kanye. We want to watch it. We want to see the details of how it happened. So the audience is all there, right? So it's this weird, like, sarcastic audience for the sad clown kind of thing that is just so twisted to me.
No, but I think there's a big audience of people who don't see him as a sad clown at all. They see him as just straight up genius.
I agree, but I don't think that audience is Bethany World Prayer Center, and I don't think that audience is Donald Trump. But I think there's an audience of people who are using Kanye and just let's use it with no integrity whatsoever, no context of the bigger picture, and certainly no context of who this person really is and what's going on with him. Like if you watch that interview with David Letterman and then watch the documentary on Netflix called Amy, which is the story of Amy Winehouse, like you'll see what's terrifying to me, right? The last days of Amy Winehouse were her being surrounded by people who knew that they were going to keep making money as long as she's still upright, but that's all they cared about.
Yeah, it's like the same with Old Dirty Bastard in a lot of ways. Old Dirty Bastard was that way as well. They got him out of jail and it was weird and shit. I feel you, and it's concerning and all that stuff, but still, I've already said I'm going to give Kanye a 2-year grace period where I'm giving him an opportunity to be a political mastermind. And if that comes true, then I'm a fucking genius. And if it doesn't, I'll pretend like I didn't. I'll just forget about it.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll just kind of
wipe our hands.
Call
of
it
that
good.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious to hear his new record, and I'm curious to hear if like what he makes next continues to be really interesting musically and etc. Regardless of the content, because I think some really amazing music can have super, weird spiritual or mythical or whatever content. It doesn't matter, but I just think from an emotional stability standpoint and like as an onlooker, you know what I mean? Like I don't mind gawking at someone who wants the attention and they know it and they're doing it, consciously and whatever. And I don't mind gawking at someone who's awful like Trump and is demanding the attention but deserves to be, shut down. It just feels weird to me now and I don't let him off the hook, Kanye, for some of the things he's continuing to say. But it does feel a little weird to me now and kind of sad to watch.
Yeah. Well, only time will tell. This is the world. At the end of the day, climate change is like way worse than they thought. It probably is that the Senate won't convict Trump and that this whole thing is going to get even more corrupt and there's no chance of a fair election anyway. And the United States is pretty much a fork in it at that point, just like kind of dinner and dessert for China and Russia at the end of the day. So Kanye, in a lot of levels is irrelevant,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
no offense to him, but we got bigger fish to fry than that guy.
But Kanye and Melania is a hell of a
together.
Kanye Melania, it's a strong name.
West.
It's a really strong name.
Trump
Kanye
West.
Melania. The Trump
West. Yeah, I think he would come. Yeah, he would like to do more branding around that shit. But one way or another, I think we uncovered a huge thing tonight, which was the idea that Melania is a spy, a Russian spy.
Yep. Obviously.
That's huge.
Full
That's
agreement.
huge.
No doubt.
And from there, we could probably work out a whole nother week's worth of episodes. You know what I mean? Like, just dissect that thing. Start looking at the other guys. See the intersections. Maria Butina, NRA. You know what I mean? It's all right there. Adult diapers, right? You know what I mean?
Right there.
All right.
Having a son, having a weird robot son that's probably not a real person. Who knows?
Genetic clone.
Yeah.
I think we gotta pose this question to the audience for next week because we're gonna need some help
fill those comments up.
Rebranding this. We're missing a word in the English language, and it's really frustrating. Yeah. We're missing several words, but just one to call out.
Very sad.
So first, if you say something and then I say something to trump you. Before Donald Trump existed, before he existed in the lexicon, that word had a meaning, and it's from playing cards.
Yeah.
A trump card.
Yeah.
Right.
That's problematic now. We need to replace that word, and we need an opposite of that word.
Yeah.
What is the opposite of playing a trump card?
Playing the low card
opposite,
or whatever.
right?
Intentionally playing the humble card.
Yeah, we're missing that. So I have a list here. I'm just going to...
Oh, you made a list.
Well, I have a list from the dictionary of what is the opposite of a trump card.
You didn't make the list?
No, I wrote the dictionary, but that's a different story.
Okay, and then this part wrote itself.
Antonyms for a trump card. I don't think I would guess any of these words. So before I read them, I'm just curious if you guys want to throw out a couple words and let's see if you can guess any of the words on the list. Does anything come to mind as the opposite of a trump card?
He said low card. A sabotage cigar.
Self-sabotage.
Okay, so this is...
fiasco unit.
Oh, I like that.
Humbling I think humbling or self-humbling.
Surrendering. Surrender flag.
So these are like liability, interior, handicap, drawback, disadvantage.
You didn't write a very good dictionary.
It's not very good. I should have talked to you guys first.
Yeah,
I should have talked to you guys first. So we need better words for what the action of trumping something.
Self-sabotage.
Because I think now trumping something should mean.
Well, I'm gonna raise you.
He does, yeah.
Raise you this concept. What about we just change the name or the meaning of the word Trump to poop?
Right.
In just every way.
Yeah.
It might, in some cases, involve, unfortunately, saying that's the Trump for some people. You know what I mean? It's like that's the shit. But there's Trump on my shoe.
Yeah.
They were talking Trump about him.
I just dropped the nasty.
He just trumped. Yeah. Oh man, there's a Trump in the toilet and nobody flushed.
You're in the doctor's office. Something's been irregular with my Trumps. I'm having irregular Trumps.
Oh, instead of bowel movement, what if they replace that and then doctors would be like,
turd. It's the individual turd. Is it?
When was the last time you made a Trump?
Each one, yeah.
There's 3 Trumps.
There's like 6 Trumps.
I deposited I had a 3 Trump movement.
Yeah. It's like Junior and Eric, like
right.
Absolutely. I think this is it. You got it. So the what's the equivalent of bowel movement in that frame? Because how does the doctor ask you this? When was the last time you made a Trump?
Impeachment. When was the last time?
When was the last time you impeached a Trump? Oh, you haven't impeached a Trump in a week? Good God!
Impeached for 5 days.
You need to impeach and convict right away.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that will actually be how it goes, because he'll be seen as the person that was, unceremoniously kind of snipped and dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So
he pinched off a Trump.
It'll go.
Yeah, pinched off. When did you? Are your Trumps floating? Are they oily or loose Trumps at all? Oh, stool. That's the word you replace it with. Stool. Can you give me a Trump sample?
Yeah, I need a sample
Doctor,
of your
my
Trump.
Trump is loose. My Trump has been loose lately.
Thank you.
Well, runny Trumps, Anyway, well,
I'm glad we found our mature ending.
Yeah, that was solid. It's like a swan.
That was solid.
They say, and the Flawedcast is a lot like this. When you look at, I think it's a duck, but maybe let's just say swan, gliding across the water, it looks elegant, just like the Flawedcast. Little do you know how quickly and methodically it's paddling below to make that ease. Yep. It's not easy, actually. Yep. We make it look easy, but this is
you can't see below our waist, but we are paddling like crazy.
Yeah. On that note, I want to have people look this up, because on my flight the other day I saw this, and this is just a good way to talk about under the desk. There's pedaling going on. I saw in one of those air flight magazines this thing, and it said there was over 200,000 active users of this bike thing that you put on the floor while you're watching TV, and you just like pedal. And they chose like a dude with a big beer belly as the model for this ridiculous thing. So,
they know their audience. That's who's looking for those kind of things. That's the kind of consumer that's always looking for ways to exercise at home.
Yeah.
But I love that they chose a model who potentially hadn't been using the product for very long.
I know, like new user.
Just got mine in the mail. First run. Exactly. Take a picture of me.
Yeah.
Who knows if I'll be using it in a week.
Picture. Yeah. 200,000 active users.
That's not what that bike turns you into. Like, what if that guy's been using that bike for the last few years?
It just gives you
that's what it does to you. It just like builds
a strong beard and a green t-shirt.
Big belly.
Yeah. Well, if anybody can prove that Melania is not a spy, I'd encourage him to do so and get back to us. Otherwise, it'll be set in stone as of next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'd even offer up our dividends from next show.
I think we could do that.
I'm spoken for. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Well, Bjorn and I'll do it because we're fucking Samaritans and shit.
I spent mine on gambling.
$200,000 to whoever.
I wasn't gonna quantify it. I was just thinking, just whatever the proceeds end up being, could be more, could be a lot more. Right. So I don't want to limit it to just 200,000.
Now that we're doing this whole futuristic stuff on YouTube, whatnot.
Yeah, talking to the future.
We're less limited to our preordained advertising group.
It's true.
But yeah, shout out to all the old advertisers too. Thank you for
and the new ones.
But also, like, we're big underground, literally underground. We're huge underground.
So just send us a message.
Realized that I was secretly advertising for Doppelmayr gondolas and chairlifts during this podcast.
Smooth as silk, my man. You shouldn't have given it up. Well. Yeah, that's a great way to do it, guys. Send us your advertising inquiries. Mm-hmm. We'll get back to you next week.
And we got to know the opposite of a trump card.
Yeah.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah. Well,
it's it's a P card because the Trump is a poop. The opposite's a P.
But the opposite of a poop is not a peep.
No. It's 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, they're like.
I guess the opposite
that's
of
like
2
Batman
would be
and Robin.
2.
They're not. Batman and Robin are not opposite each other. They're always.
The opposite of poo is throwing up.
Yeah, that's what.
Or is it eating food?
Eating is the opposite of poop.
Eating is the opposite of pooping.
They're extended. This is like the uncut extended.
I love flushing it out.
Podcast.
Yeah,
flushing it out.
I'm glad we flushed that out.
And drinking is the opposite of peeing.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless